You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, Yarmouth follows that shell.
Plus, town asks residents for voluntary water restrictions.
And later, a recap of this week's town meetings.
These stories and more are coming up next on Cape Media News.
Good evening and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Suzanne Tenaire. Did you get a chance to follow that shell, Yarmouth? Yesterday, the Mass Oyster Project and the Yarmouth Shellfish Collective transported 7,000 pounds of recycled oyster shells from the Yarmouth Transfer Station to ARC Hatchery in Dennis. For the past 3 years, Mass Oyster Project has worked with 25 Cape Cod restaurants to collect and recycle oyster shells, which helps restore vital oyster habitats. In 2024 alone, 62,000 pounds of shells were collected. Take a look.
As residents of a beautiful coastal community, we are fortunate to be surrounded by abundant marine wildlife, with perhaps none more important than the eastern oyster. Aside from being a delicious meal for gulls and humans alike, oysters are a crucial part of our coastal ecosystem. However, today, oyster populations are a fraction of what they once were due to overharvesting, pollution, and coastal development. The Massachusetts Oyster Project is looking to change that. Earlier this week, in collaboration with the Yarmouth Shellfish Collective, 7,000 pounds of recycled oyster shells were transported to the Aquaculture Research Hatchery in Dennis. But how can old used shells help recover oyster populations? Oysters naturally grow in a reef formation, and recycled oyster shells make the perfect base for new reefs. The Massachusetts Oyster Project has been collecting recycled shells from local restaurants and restoring oyster habitats on Cape Cod since 2021. Last year alone, 62,000 pounds of shells were collected. The used shells are treated for a year before being replanted to revitalize the area's oyster beds. Restaurants aren't the only ones getting in on the action. If you'd like to recycle your own oyster shells, Mass Oyster Project has recently set up two 24/7 recycling locations at Englewood Boat Ramp in West Yarmouth and Wilbur Park in South Yarmouth. Now you can enjoy your oysters and help save their habitat at the same time. For Cape Media News, I'm Kelly McKenna.
The Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills Fire Department is recognizing Chief Byron Eldridge for his 48 years in the fire service. Before moving to Cape Cod, Chief Eldridge began his fire service career in Wareham in 1977. He settled in at the Comm Fire Department in 1985, where, over the course of his 40-year tenure, he served in nearly every rank, including firefighter, senior private, lieutenant, captain, deputy fire chief, and fire chief. He also served as the president of Comm Firefighters Union and played a pivotal role in shaping the department. His expertise was instrumental in the design and construction of all three Comm fire stations. Comm Fire and Rescue Department said this of Chief Eldridge: "On behalf of the entire Comm Fire family, past and present, please join us in extending our heartfelt gratitude and best wishes to Chief Eldridge in his well-earned retirement. Thank you, Chief, for your leadership, mentorship, and lifetime of service. You have truly left a legacy." The change of command ceremony took place this morning, celebrating the career of Chief Byron and ushering in Comm's new fire chief, Patrick R. Hill, and Deputy Chief Michael R. Rogers.
The Osterville Village Library is hosting community readers on Saturdays throughout March. The Community Reader Program invites local community members from different walks of life to highlight various professions on Cape Cod. Tomorrow, March 1st, from 10 to 11 a.m., historian and farmer Paul Chesbrough will be in the Lillian Dixon Morton Children's Reading Room to teach you all about farming. On March 8th, Dr. Rich and Andy Falzone with a story time and craft focused on mental health. March 22nd will feature physician's assistant Allie Betty. And finally, adventurer Stephen Farrar will attend on March 29th. For more information, visit the Osterville Library website.
Join the Barnstable Youth Commission at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center for the 9th Annual Youth Job Fair. On March 5th, From 2:30 to 4:30 p.m., students aged 14 to 18 are invited to meet with more than 45 local businesses. Come dressed professionally with copies of your current resume, as many employers will interview and even hire on the spot. Or have professionals help you clean up your resume and practice interviewing skills. Parents can enjoy the Parents' Lounge, stacked with coffee and snacks while their child meets, greets, and mingles. Some of this year's employers include Four Seas Ice Cream, Rotary Club of Hyannis, Sportsport, Oyster Harbors, Cape Cod Maritime Museum, and many more.
Celebrate Women's History Month in March with the Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center. Women veterans, wives of veterans, and widows are invited to attend a special event honoring and celebrating the contributions of women connected to the military community. On Saturday, March 8th at Margaritaville Resort in Hyannis, enjoy a complimentary spa facial and Reiki treatment. Meet with representatives from the Providence VA Medical Center to learn about resources and hear from Colonel Betty C. Ludke, who will share her story as a veteran who served in the Air Force for 30 years.
And on March 15th, join Civic at Cape Cod Community College for a screening of the documentary Mercury 13. Mercury 13 tells the story of 13 women tested for spaceflight in 1961 who outperformed their male counterparts, but were denied the chance to be first in space due to their gender. Following the movie will be a Q&A with special guest Jackie Lovelace Johnson, daughter of aerospace medical researcher Dr. Randy Lovelace. For more information about either of these events, call Civic at 508-237-3349.
Coming up after the break, meeting recaps and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News.
The towns of Harwich, Chatham, and Yarmouth had select board meetings this week, and News Director Mitch Salk has the details.
In Yarmouth this week, the Select Board meeting opened with public comment from Jim Seymour, Executive Director of Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center, who addressed the HERO Act for veteran property tax abatements. Seymour recommended a phased implementation approach rather than an immediate full exemption to avoid overwhelming budget impacts. In a notable announcement, Health Director Jay Gardner submitted his resignation to accept a position with Barnstable County's Health Department. Board members expressed their gratitude for his years of service to the town, particularly highlighting his leadership during recent health challenges. Residents voiced concerns about a proposed roundabout at Route 28 and East Main Street, suggesting it might worsen traffic congestion instead of alleviating it. Questions also arose regarding affordable housing eligibility requirements, with the board promising further examination of these issues. Regarding recreation, the board confirmed Steve Reynolds as the new Director of Recreation after his successful tenure as Assistant Director. Under Reynolds' leadership, youth sports programs expanded and recreation participation increased by nearly 30% over the past 2 years. The board also approved fee increases for town-owned golf courses, a 4% increase for annual passes, and a 5% rise in daily card fees to fund improvements while maintaining financial stability for operations that generated over $1 million in retained earnings last year. And the DY School Superintendent, Mark Smith, presented an update on the district's feasibility study, noting the $8 million annual cost for out-of-district student placements. The board concluded by discussing preparations for the annual town meeting scheduled for April 29th. In Chatham, the Select Board reviewed and unanimously approved placing the fiscal year 2026 budget on the annual town meeting warrant. The budget allocates $44.1 million for operating expenses and $3.16 million for capital projects, including a newly added $220,000 for a dump truck replacement. The board also noted an $86,000 increase in the Monomoy Regional School District's education assessment. A citizen-led zoning amendment regarding exterior mechanical appliances like heat pumps and generators was referred to the Planning Board. The proposal aims to simplify permit process while maintaining noise control standards. The board recommended 9 Community Preservation Act articles totaling over $2.3 million. These include $500,000 for affordable housing initiatives, $408,000 for a historic mural restoration, and $275,000 to continue reconstruction of the Nickerson family barn. Significant discussions centered on development options for 127 Old Harbor Road, with the board narrowing down 3 potential plans that balance housing needs with historic preservation and zoning requirements. The town manager reported securing a $12,000 grant for life ring cabinets at waterfront locations and provided updates on ongoing sewer projects and winter road maintenance. Residents were reminded about an upcoming public forum on lowering speed limits that was held on Wednesday at Town Hall. And lastly, over in Harwich, the Select Board approved a land conservation restriction for 16 acres in Hawks Nest State Park to expedite acquisition for the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Citizens' petitions dominated much of the discussion, with proposals for a fertilizer ban, restrictions on outdoor pesticide spraying, and more. These measures generated debate between environmental protection advocates and those concerned about enforcement challenges and homeowner rights. A proposal to hire a part-time tree warden was clarified as a non-binding recommendation that would remain at the Select Board's discretion. Wastewater management was also a central topic, with officials discussing acceptance of $31.1 million in state funding to extend sewer lines along Queen Anne Road. The board emphasized that town meeting approval would be required before proceeding with the borrowing necessary for this project. Other significant items included a proposal to establish a charter commission to review town governance structures, an initiative to rescind a 2022 town meeting vote regarding demolition of the historic West Harwich Baptist Church, and the creation of an annual Historic Preservation Award. Wrapping up, representatives from Monomoy Regional School District and Cape Cod Technical High School presented their fiscal year 2026 plans. And that'll do it this week. For Cape Media News, I'm Mitch Sock.
Coming up after the break, voluntary water conservation, sports, and more.
Welcome back to Cape Media News.
In response to the Cape and Islands region experiencing a Level 2 significant drought status, the town of Chatham is requesting residents observe voluntary water conservation practices. Here are some ways residents can reduce their water use.
According to data from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Central and Northeast Massachusetts are now experiencing a Level 3 critical drought, while the Cape and Islands have progressed to Level 2. So while it feels like we've had a good amount of snow and rain this winter, last month's precipitation is still about 2 inches below average. In order to reduce the impact of drought conditions as groundwater levels slowly return to normal, Barnstable County officials recommend reducing your overall water usage at home. A few small things you can do every day include taking shorter showers, avoid running water while brushing your teeth, and running dishwashers and washing machines at full capacity. Check for and fix any leaks in your home, including pipes and appliances. Remember that while the ground is currently wet from the melting snow and ice, there is still an elevated fire risk and less water available for firefighting. Above all else, follow your town's recommended guidelines and make sure to regularly check their website or social media for any changes.
Independence House, the DA's office, and the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office invite you to attend the annual Cape Cod White Ribbon event. On March 6th at 8 a.m., visit the Yarmouth Police Department as local organizations and community members gather to openly discuss gender-based violence in our community. Join local law enforcement as they reaffirm the Massachusetts White Ribbon Pledge. From this day forward, I promise to be part of the solution in ending violence against women and all gender-based violence.
The White Ribbon movement began in the early 90s following the Montreal Massacre, when 14 women were murdered after being separated from male students. The massacre is regarded as an act of misogynist terrorism and spawned many men's anti-violence programs around the world, including the White Ribbon campaign that Massachusetts law enforcement now pledge to.
Join the town of Chatham this Monday, March 3rd at 5 p.m. for the opening reception of Team Chatham's Employee Art Showcase. The exhibit will be shown at the Center for the Active Living through April 18th and is open to the public during normal operating hours. Join Chatham in celebrating the creative talents of town employees in their first ever artist showcase.
Earlier this week, Governor Maura Healey announced a pause on the proposed plans to close Pecasset Mental Health Center. The Barnstable County Board of Regional Commissioners and the Assembly of Delegates celebrated this step while acknowledging that the fight for sustainable and long-term mental health care solutions continues. Barnstable County released a statement thanking Governor Healy for responding to the needs of the community, also saying that this step reflects the significant concerns raised by patients, families, healthcare professionals, and community advocates regarding the impact of this closure on vulnerable populations. Barnstable County stands ready to assist in this process and remains committed to working collaboratively with state and local leaders to secure the best possible outcome for our residents.
Don't forget to set your leprechaun traps next Saturday, the 8th. It's the 20th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade in Yarmouth, with this year's theme being the Heart of Ireland, 20 years of music and tradition. The parade committee is excited to announce that the 2025 Grand Marshal is musician Father Ray Kelly from Westmeath, Ireland. After going viral online for singing at his relative's wedding, he performed on Britain's Got Talent and many charity events all over the world, including right here on Cape Cod. Welcome Father Kelly back to the Cape and join the fun as festival floats, Irish dancers, and bagpipers bring the luck of the Irish to the Cape. For the full parade route, visit CapeCodSt.PatricksParade.com.
Yarmouth PD announced that beginning Monday, March 3rd, the Bass River Bridge will be closed to through traffic. Construction crews will be on the Yarmouth side doing work. The biggest impact will occur if you are traveling to Yarmouth from Dennis. To avoid delays, any traffic that enters Route 28 in Dennis between Route 134 and the Bass River Bridge will have to go east to the detour on Route 134.
All Yarmouth traffic going east will have to take North Main Street and follow the detour. Dennis PD added that the road work will take several weeks to complete, and Route 28 will be closed during construction hours only, generally 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. The road will be repaved each night. Yarmouth PD says, "We know the construction and various detours can be cumbersome, and we thank you all for your patience while we navigate the work that needs to be done. Please drive safely and plan accordingly." And lastly this evening, to Ryan Downs with a recap of This Week in Sports.
Welcome back to the Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. The MIAA announced their final rankings and brackets last Saturday, and 3 of our teams made it, and 2 of them have already seen some action, so let's check in on them. As always, we'll kick it off with the Barnstable boys. Placed as the number 26 seed in Division I, they were able to host their first playoff game since 2002, which means none of the players have even been alive long enough to see a playoff game in their own gym. And they had the gym rocking. There was a full crowd, and they even had a DJ who played music throughout the game's breaks. It was a real close game, with Barnstable leading Peabody Veterans almost the entire time, but never putting a gap larger than 5 between them. Nevertheless, Barnstable extended their win streak to 16 games, with a final score of 51-46. Gabe Pichardo led with 16 points, followed by Caden Forts with 12 and Kwan Deza with 11. But the game didn't go without drama, as the Redhawks saw a 57-52 lead with less than a minute 20 left diminish to a 1-point lead with only 38 seconds left. Following possession, Adrian Pichardo held on to the ball on offense to draw the foul and put him at the line with 28 seconds to go. He sunk both free throws to make it a 3-point game. With only 10 seconds left, Peabody Veterans fired from 3 and missed. Gabe Pichardo scooped up the rebound and was immediately fouled to put him on the line, and he made both as well to put Barnstable into the round of 32, where they will have to travel to take on number 7 seed Springfield Central. That game is scheduled for 7 p.m. tonight. The DY boys finished as the 34th seed in Division III bracket, where they matched up with number 31 Medway in the preliminary round. It was a very close game down to the final whistle. They were tied at 31 heading into the half, and DY led by 1 point to close out the first and third quarters. Medway just made more plays down the line. The game was played last Tuesday, and DY fell, losing 59-66, marking the end of their first season under Dakota Rafuse. And the DY girls are the only other team that made it to the playoffs, and the only team to make it to the round of 32 outright. No preliminary games involved. They are the number 21 team in Division III and have drawn a matchup at number 12 North Reading. That game is scheduled for 6 p.m. tonight, so we'll come back with an update on that next week. And that's it for this week's Sports Update. Back to you, Jamie and Suzanne.
Thanks, Ryan. Does your little one have an old soul? Tomorrow morning at 10:30, South Dennis Library is hosting the Granny's Tea Party.
Put on your favorite granny costume and get ready to play Bluey Bingo, decorate your own paper purse, take pictures with funny props, and of course, enjoy some tea and biscuits.
And thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story you'd like to see covered, please send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
Stay up to date on all local happenings by following us on Facebook and YouTube.
And make sure to tune in every Friday at 5:30 for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. For Cape Media News, I'm Jamie Horton.
And I'm Suzanne Tenaire.